For years, the influencer was the perfect creature of the internet. Polished face, perfect lighting, perfect apartment, perfect morning routine, perfect skin, perfect coffee, perfect life. They stood in front of us like proof that existence could be optimized. Buy this cream, wear this jacket, drink this supplement, wake up at 5 a.m., journal under expensive sunlight, turn your life into a brand. And for a while, it worked. People watched, people clicked, people bought. People wanted to become the person on the screen. But something has changed. The influencer is not exactly dead, but the old influencer is dying. The perfect influencer, the frictionless influencer, the "my life is better than yours and here is a discount code" influencer. That person no longer feels aspirational. They feel suspicious. Because in the mid-2020s, perfection no longer looks impressive. It looks artificial. And that is the paradox defining pop culture now. Technology is becoming more artificial, but audiences are becoming more hungry for what feels human. AI can generate the perfect face, the perfect room, the perfect caption, the perfect voice, the perfect image of a life that never happened. So now, when people see perfection, they do not automatically think, "I want that." They think, "Is this even real?" That is the cultural shift. We are moving from the age of influence to the age of discernment, from visibility to intentionality, from "look at me" to "why should I trust you?" And that changes everything. The old influencer economy was built on aspiration. It said, "Your life is incomplete, but this person has figured it out. Their body is better, their taste is better, their apartment is better, their relationship is better, their productivity system is better, their happiness looks cleaner than yours." Influencing worked because it created a gap between your life and the life on screen. That gap produced desire, and desire produced sales. But today, the audience has become more skeptical of the gap itself. Because after years of filters, sponsored posts, rented luxury, fake vulnerability, edited bodies, algorithmic trends, and now AI-generated content, people have developed a kind of cultural immune system. They can smell polish, and too much polish now feels like a lie. This is why de-influencing became so powerful. The new trusted figure is not the person saying, "buy this." It is the person saying, "don't buy this." That reversal matters, because de-influencing is not just a shopping trend. It is a trust rebellion. It is the audience saying, "I am tired of being sold an identity. I am tired of being manipulated through insecurity. I am tired of products disguised as self-improvement. I am tired of the performance of authenticity." The influencer used to gain trust by looking perfect. Now trust often comes from refusing perfection. Bad lighting can feel more honest than studio lighting. A negative review can feel more valuable than praise. A messy room can feel more human than an aesthetic apartment. The blooper can feel more real than the final cut. The cultural status symbol has shifted. Perfection used to signal superiority. Now imperfection signals humanity. This is also why the internet is strangely nostalgic for 2016. Not because 2016 was objectively innocent, it wasn't. But memory does not work like history. Memory edits. And from the perspective of the AI-filtered, post-pandemic, hyper-monetized internet, the mid-2000s feel like a lost digital childhood. Tumblr filters, grainy flash photography, messy hair, indie sleaze, early Instagram chaos, EDM pop choruses that sounded like summer was going to last forever. The return of the 2016 aesthetic is not just fashion recycling, it is emotional archaeology. People are digging through the internet's recent past, looking for a moment before everything felt so optimized, before every post looked like a strategy, before every personality became a funnel, before every trend felt like a marketing brief, before AI made us question whether anything was made by a human at all. That is why the 2016 revival feels so powerful. It is nostalgia for the pre-AI internet, the internet before it became too professional, before everyone became a brand manager of themselves, before authenticity became a content category. And there is something sad in that, because we are not only nostalgic for an aesthetic, we are nostalgic for a time when the internet felt less aware of itself, when being online still had rough edges, when a bad photo could feel more alive than a perfect one, when the human mess had not yet been fully converted into content. There is no longer one mainstream culture for everyone to return to. The monoculture has shattered. There is no single center, no one main thing everyone watches, wears, quotes, or believes in. Instead, we live inside thousands of micro-worlds: librarian chic, tech-noir minimalism, mythology core, clean girl, mob wife, coquette, indie sleaze, quiet luxury, dark academia, bloatcore, gorpcore, office siren, Sport-Luxe. The modern person no longer simply consumes culture. They choose a micro-mythology. They enter an aesthetic world and let it organize their identity. This is why fashion and identity now feel so fragmented. Two people can both be online and live in completely different cultural universes. One person's entire feed is F1 jackets, matcha, and wellness retreats. Another person's feed is ancient mythology edits, book recommendations, and cinematic sadness. Another person lives in K-pop fan cams and airport fashion. Another lives in gym discipline, productivity podcasts, and watch collections. The algorithm does not give us culture anymore. It gives us mirrors, and every mirror reflects a different self. This is the death of the influencer as a universal figure. The influencer used to stand above the crowd and say, "Be like me." But now the crowd has split into tribes, and each tribe wants someone who feels native to its specific world. Not a general influencer, a cultural insider, someone who knows the codes, someone who understands the aesthetic, the references, the anxieties, the rituals, the jokes. Influence has not disappeared. It has become tribal. But every now and then, something still breaks through. A Netflix show, a celebrity breakup, a World Cup moment, a GTA trailer, a Taylor Swift tour, a K-pop comeback, a reality TV scandal, a meme that somehow escapes every silo at once. These are temporary monocultures, pop-up moments when everyone suddenly looks in the same direction. They do not last long, maybe a week, maybe two. Then the algorithm swallows everyone back into their own private universe. But while they last, these moments feel powerful because they interrupt fragmentation. They remind us what mass culture used to feel like: the shared joke, the shared shock, the shared obsession, the shared argument. And maybe this is why people chase these moments so intensely. Because in a world where everyone lives inside a personalized feed, a temporary monoculture feels almost sacred. For a moment, you are not alone in your attention. Everyone is seeing it. Everyone is talking about it. Everyone knows the reference. This is not just entertainment, it is social synchronization. And social synchronization is becoming rare. Another sign of the influencer's death is the rise of Sport-Luxe culture. This may seem unrelated at first, but it is not. For years, movie stars and fashion influencers were the primary symbols of aspiration. Now athletes are becoming some of the most powerful style icons in the world. F1 drivers, women's football players, basketball stars, tennis players, Olympic athletes, footballers walking into stadiums like runway models. Why? Because athletes carry something traditional influencers often lack: stakes. Their bodies are not only aesthetic, their bodies do something. They risk failure in public. They perform under pressure. They win, lose, suffer, recover, compete. That makes them feel more real. A model can wear a racing jacket, but an F1 driver gives the racing jacket mythology. A celebrity can wear a football shirt, but an athlete gives the shirt emotional history. Sport-Luxe works because it combines fashion with consequence. It says, this is not only style, this belongs to a world of speed, danger, discipline, rivalry, sweat, and victory. And in an artificial age, consequence is attractive. That is why sport has merged so powerfully with lifestyle. People do not only want clothes, they want clothes that carry a story. A jersey is not just fabric, it is belonging. A vintage tracksuit is not just nostalgia, it is identity. A racing aesthetic is not just fashion, it is adrenaline translated into clothing. The influencer sold lifestyle as image. Sport-Luxe sells lifestyle as myth. That is much stronger. And then there is the strangest turn of all. Intellectual depth has become cool again. Not in the old academic sense, not necessarily in the university lecture hall sense, but in the cultural sense. Books are status objects now. Long video essays are thriving. Substack has become part of personal identity. People brag about niche knowledge. Nerding out has become attractive. The hot take is losing prestige. The deep dive is gaining it. This is what we might call wisdom flexing. In the early 2020s, online culture rewarded speed. React fast, post fast, judge fast, simplify fast, be loud before anyone else. But after years of rage bait, misinformation, shallow commentary, and empty discourse, audiences are tired. They do not only want takes, they want frameworks. They want context. They want someone to explain why something matters. That is why 3-hour podcasts, long documentaries, and video essays can compete with short-form clips. Depth has become a form of rebellion. To care deeply about one thing is now more interesting than pretending to know everything. And this is one of the biggest opportunities for channels like Popcorn and Plato, because the culture is moving toward exactly this space. Pop culture, but with meaning. Entertainment, but with psychology. Trends, but with philosophy. A movie is not just a movie. A concert is not just a concert. K-pop is not just music. The World Cup is not just football. A fashion trend is not just clothing. All of it is human nature in costume. That is the future after the influencer. Not the death of influence, the death of empty influence. So what comes next? Not perfection. Not the old influencer fantasy. Not the flawless life. What comes next is intentionality. People want to know why something matters. Why this product? Why this aesthetic? Why this community? Why this ritual? Why this story? Why this person? Why this feeling? The next cultural figure is not the influencer who says, "Look at my life." It is the interpreter who says, "Here is what this means." The curator, the critic, the essayist, the storyteller, the person who can move between trend and truth. Because people are overwhelmed. They do not need more content. They need orientation. They need someone to help them read the culture they are drowning in. That is why the influencer is dying. Because the influencer was built for an age of aspiration. But we are entering an age of interpretation. An age where the question is no longer, how do I look like that? But, why do I want that? What does this say about me? What does this trend reveal about us? What kind of person is this culture asking me to become? That is the deeper shift. The influencer sold us the image. The next era will belong to the people who can explain the image. The mid-2020s are not anti-pop culture. They are more pop culture than ever, but the vibe has changed. People still want beauty. They still want style. They still want idols, athletes, music, trends, gossip, aesthetics, and spectacle. But they are more suspicious now, more selective, more hungry for evidence of humanity. A bad photo can feel like proof of life. A long conversation can feel more valuable than a perfect caption. A book can become a fashion object because it signals depth. A concert can feel like church because people are starving for shared emotion. A World Cup can feel like religion because the digital world cannot give us embodied belonging. The old influencer said, "Watch me." The new culture asks, "What is worth watching?" The old influencer said, "Become like me." The new culture asks, "Who am I becoming?" The old influencer sold perfection. The new culture searches for meaning. And maybe that is why the death of the influencer is not a tragedy. Maybe it is a correction, a cultural immune response, a sign that people are tired of being optimized and are trying, awkwardly, imperfectly, beautifully, to become human again. Because in a world where machines can produce perfection instantly, the most valuable thing left may be the one thing that cannot be automated. A person with taste, doubt, memory, contradiction, and a reason for caring. The influencer is dying. But what comes next might be better. Not louder, not cleaner, not more perfect. More intentional, more human, more real.